In an electrical circuit with alternating current, the total impedance of the circuit can be determined as the sum of the impedances along each part of the circuit. Part A. In an electric circuit, two parts of the circuit have impedances. If one part of the circuit has an impedance of 1 minus 2I ohms, and the total impedance of the circuit is 8 plus 6I, what is the impedance along the second part of the circuit? And part B, explain how you determined your answer. Okay, so I know that I'm given a total impedance and that there's two parts of the circuit. Because this is a series circuit, I know it's going to be the sum, and the question gives it to you. The total impedance of the circuit can be determined as the sum of the impedances of each part. So, total impedance equals part 1 plus part 2. So I'm going to write that equation to help us out. So the total impedance I'm going to label as ZT. T stands for total. And that's going to be the sum of Z1, which is part 1, plus Z2, which is the second part. So the problem gives me ZT. ZT, they said, was 8 plus 6I ohms. And they gave me one part of the circuit, which was 1 minus 2I. And I want to solve for my second part. So if I want to solve for Z2, I'm going to have to subtract this whole thing by this. So Z2 is equal to 8 plus 6I minus, in parentheses, 1 minus 2I. And if I'm subtracting this, that means I have to distribute my negative. So this becomes a negative 1, and this negative becomes a positive 2I. So after I distribute that negative, I just combine like terms. So 8 minus 1 gives me 7, and 6I plus 2I gives me plus 8I ohms. Ohms is just the unit of impedance, but you didn't have to add that. So explaining, this was part A. Part B, explain your answer. You can just say, I subtracted the first impedance part of the circuit from the total impedance. Just so I know, and I want you guys to get in the habit of explaining your answers. So if you did explain what you did and your steps were correct, you just maybe subtracted wrong or added wrong, then I'll still give you credit for knowing what to do. You just made a careless error in part A. So that's why I'm looking for part A and part B.